All right, so we are back, and today you might as well call me Neil Armstrong. And for those that were completely failed by the public education system and probably under the age of 25, that was the first man to take steps on the moon. Now stick with me because this reference has more of a reach than John Jones, but what I mean to say is with a week now until Anderson Silva and Jake Paul, we are taking our first steps in breaking this fight down, and I'm here to tell you guys one thing specifically. No, Anderson Silva's not taking a dive. Instead, he's been training like the high-level striker he's always been to leave Jake face down like a paper and a copy machine, and I know this because he has new training footage out, and it shows exactly how Anderson Silva can and possibly will beat Jake Paul. And you guys already know what you get out of me on this channel. I'm like your granddad's old beat-up 1960s El Camino that's stuck in the garage and stuck in park because you know as soon as you put the key in what's about to happen. So, breakdown, let's go. So like I said, how does Anderson Silva beat Jake Paul? Well, conventional wisdom says he's going to do what Anderson does. He's going to be slick. He's going to be precise. He's going to throw out punches and bunches from different angles, head movement, the things that Anderson does well. But have we considered what else? Because Jake is still a project. He's still a guy that's learning this sport. The more and more experience he gets, the tougher out he's going to be. But we know his strengths. We know he's fast, and we know he hits hard. And he's getting better technically with each fight. But we also know his weaknesses. While he is able to go 8 rounds, as his gas tank fades, so does his volume, so does his technique, and so does his defense. But you're talking about a guy that's still learning who he is as a boxer. To a degree, he is finding himself through fights. Where on the other side, Anderson as a striker, no matter the rounds or the sport, it's like breathing to him. It's just what he does. And that's the first piece of this puzzle, Anderson's experience, not just as a striker, but as a boxer. I'm going to show you what I mean. All right, so this is Anderson from about a year ago when he was boxing. I don't know if this was his debut against Chavez Jr., but this is when he was starting to get into the sport of boxing. And what you see here is a guy that is a master of positions, right? Look at already the difference in him allowing guys to attack him, which again is, I think, part of the game plan with Jake, allowing Jake to walk forward and counter him. But again, throws out the jab, parry immediately to the body here, right? Because he sees he's not in any danger unless this guy makes a massive movement to throw this left hook over the top. He parries this just off instinct, keeps the hand high, and then counters with a straight left. This is OG stuff. This is what you call big brother in somebody, just having more experience, understanding what shots are coming out and how to defend them and counter. This is simple stuff for Anderson, but it's also a way he's going to have advantages. He's done this longer. And yeah, you see Anderson back himself into the corner here, but again, look at what we go to, the clinch. Now, in MMA, these underhooks are great, mostly for a grappling situation or when you're looking for a takedown, get under the opponent. What I'd like to see and what I think he's going to try to employ more here is overhooks, because something I do see that Jake does well is use the clinch. He did it to Tyron Woodley both fights. He's able to use overhooks, which gives him an inherent advantage over guys that aren't natural strikers like Tyron and Ben Askren because they're used to going double unders. They're wrestlers. Sometimes he gets caught with those underhooks, and instead of being able to put his weight on guys, he's holding guys' weight. And if there's anything we know about newer, younger fighters that are coming up in the game before they have that veteran savvy, they're fast, they hit hard, but sometimes the gas tank is harder to manage. Anderson needs to take advantage of that. And again, you see Anderson, again, use some old man savvy here, right? Where he gets put in a bad position. This guy's coming forward. Anderson slips the right hand because he doesn't have to worry about a shin bone to the fucking face or anything like that. He can lower his level, stick a shoulder into the abdomen, and create space to get out of the corner. This is something that, again, Jake, I don't think has seen from anyone yet, the ability to get out of the corner without just punching their way out. Anderson does it in the most efficient way possible by not having to use as much energy. He just sticks a shoulder in his opponent, bends at the waist, and gets out. And, ooh, you see the maneuvering here. This is some Lomachenko-esque footwork, right? You see the uppercut off the lead, and immediately, boom, step to the outside, feint a little bit of a clinch here because he does clinch and turn. By the way, he's got some fucking cakes right there. Sorry, got distracted for a second. Anyway, if Anderson is to separate, step out, and throw here, he's on a better angle to land a shot than his opponent who's just defending themselves and their body isn't lined up to throw anything at the moment, right? So he has to switch the angle, get squared back, whereas Anderson was already there. Just another way to efficiently move without wasting a ton of energy. Now, here's the bad news. Anderson is very much a parry fighter. He very much will try to bat shots down, use his head movement, and then look to counter. Sometimes you can run into trouble with that. As we saw with Tyron Woodley, he tried to parry a shot from Jake. Jake threw the overhand. It landed like a fucking rocket. We saw what happened. Anderson gets into a little trouble here doing the same thing. You see him parry the lead hand, right? get that out of my face. But the problem is, this time, instead of parrying the backhand, what he did earlier, he parries the lead, which leaves a lane right down the pipe for the straight right hand. Bang, gets through. And again, Anderson is very experienced, but still, sometimes when he likes to play those lead hand games and parry games, he will get touched with a shot. So you can't have that if you're Anderson. So that's one avenue for Anderson, his experience, not only in the clinch to make Jake hold his weight, but to maneuver around if he gets caught in a bad spot like the corner, to be able to get out safely and efficiently. He is a bit older. He doesn't want to have to be using his energy versus a young bull in there trying to just wreck a China shop. He needs to do things deliberately, methodically, and in the way Anderson always has done them with number 2, and that is slick movement. Let me explain. Shout out to my guy Marcos over at Fight Hub for the footage, but this is what I'm talking about. Look at Anderson's movement, right? No, these aren't fast punches. No, he's not utilizing a great amount of speed, but he is utilizing a great amount of space in a way that's more fluid. Look at him pivot off the lead foot. Not a lot of space there, but he doesn't need a lot to make little subtle movements. Head movement, step back, and then forward. And for those people that are going to watch this and say, how is Jake going to lose this guy? These aren't fast punches. These aren't fast movements. It's not what they're working on. And I just want you guys to remember something. Yeah, Jake has speed and power, but as the great Conor McGregor once said, timing beats speed and precision beats power, mate. Don't sleep on the old man because he's not as fast as he once was. His timing has always been there, and that's what they're working on with some of these exchanges, these movements in and out. And again, he's always moving, head movement. Ooh, even a little cheeky little heel touch there. This shows he's playing, he's having fun. And these little movements right here are just setups and feints. It could be Canelo's side feint with the lead hand. It could be the little Rocket style kick that Anderson throws here. It's a movement to get a reaction that you're not normally used to seeing. Jake's going to see a lot of that in this fight. My second point just comes down to the fact that you are seeing Anderson work in small spaces here, right? His movement, it doesn't have to be big and grandiose. It's very small things. It's the little things you're seeing him do. These little inside-out movements, the head movement, the slipping his shots, the level changes, all of this stuff while he stays in the pocket. It shows me that not only is he going to be able to fight at range, which we know he can do, but it looks like he wants to welcome a bit of an inside matchup with Jake, an inside battle here. It's not just in range with a bunch of combos and then getting out of range. It's in range with a bunch of combos and then being like, oh, we're going to remain here and I'm going to follow up with combos and I'm going to switch the angle. I'm going to do things that the young man hasn't seen from any opponent just yet and test Jake, take him to school a bit and say, okay, you've learned a couple things, but what do you do when I show you something you haven't seen? And that's point number 2. Yes, Anderson's experience. Yes, he's silky smooth and he relies on his timing with his head movement and his ability to stay in the pocket after exchanges and get you to throw so he can counter over while utilizing small little pockets in space and angles to switch off the lead foot. But the last thing isn't mechanics or technique or speed or timing or anything really to do with the physical nature, but more so, it comes down to one thing. A mindset. Think about this for a second, and we've talked about it before, but Jake's fought every opponent with the 3 Ds. I'm not talking about what he does in his free time. I mean disdain, dismissal, and disruption. In other words, he hasn't looked at a guy the way he does Anderson Silva, and that can be a good thing. Jake doesn't have to create some kind of fake character. He can just focus on the fight, and it looks like that's what he's doing. But to Jake, Anderson's a hero. And to Anderson, Jake's just another fighter. And I know that Jake has said, that all goes away when we get into the ring, and it may very well do that. But what if it doesn't? What if he gets into that ring and Anderson Silva treats him like any other fighter while Jake is still trying to process that this is Anderson Silva in front of him, and before he wakes up, because Jake, we've known now for the last 2 fights, has been a bit of a slow starter. Add on to the fact that now he's fighting his childhood hero. Does that create a bit of an edge to Anderson, who will start this fight fast? I have no doubts about that. He's going to try to come out and test Jake early. And again, this is all speculation, but just going off Jake's last couple of fights, his slow starts, and he doesn't get out quick and gets put behind the cards early. Does he get a bit desperate and start to throw those big shots with no setup, and because of that desperation, open more holes in the defense that we already know Anderson's going to look to take advantage of? All I'm saying is there's a mental factor here, and Fight Week will tell us more about what exactly Jake's mindset coming into this is. You're either going to have crazy output that just stifles Anderson completely, or you're going to have to nail him to the canvas. And for Jake, the second option's probably more likely. And if he can't, Anderson Silva will once again remind everyone why a spider's web is so hard to untangle. And that is how Anderson Silva might and can beat Jake Paul. But you guys let me know down below, how does Anderson get this done? Is this his fight to win, or is Jake just too big, too strong, too fast, too young, and maybe more talented than we think to go in there and exterminate or end the legacy of of Anderson Silva? I don't have those answers, but Fight Week is just about to start, and we have a lot more to get to. So, both legacies will change forever, but who comes out the winner? Guess we'll find out.